Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short, little unboxing video to share with you guys. Something new from Remette. Remette has traditionally brought us some pretty awesome stuff, at least in the short time that I have been aware that they exist. Fairly new company, at least from my perspective, but they've done a really, really good job in listening to the community and, releasing some stuff that people like that's not like the same stuff over and over again. So hopefully that's more of what we have today. I will link this down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to Remette for sending this in. And I saw a picture of this a couple of weeks back. The Remette RT Saker Falcon Knife ASTP-2. Okay, let's go ahead and find out what we're actually looking at here, and then I'll give you guys some specs. Not quite as heavy, not nearly as heavy as I was expecting from what I remember of the picture. Okay, all right. It is a little smaller than what I thought, but not a dainty knife. In fact, it's kind of chunky. So we have, now, this is a little bit of an odd combination here between the toxic carbon fiber, which actually does look cool. Almost kind of looks like, refracted light inside of a gem. I kind of like that. The combination of this with the lightning anno, it's not Timascus, this is lightning anno, titanium. But it's a little bit off. I would venture to guess we have a bit of options in terms of your color and material combinations. But you can see we've got a little bit of a switch here. What is going on? Okay. Oh, it's a much more aggressive blade shape than I was expecting. Almost a compound tanto harpoon. Kind of like that. In fact, I really like that. It's one of my favorite blade, like aesthetically, it's one of my favorite blade shapes. I think that's really good looking. So we have, I missed that one, sorry. This is actually partially covering the frame lock. So despite my ridiculous failure there, you can brace directly on top of the pocket clip or the scale and not worry about causing issues with deployment there. So a satin finished hollow ground compound tanto blade, very nice. Probably M390, does it say? Did you not print it anywhere? Surely you did. Maybe, does it say like on the box or something? Usually Remette works with M390 and I think periodically S35VN. But that's what I would venture to guess. In any case, I mean, this is not a review. We're just doing first impressions here. It does not say on the box. I would guess that it's M390, but it could be S35VN. Can you use the opening hole to deploy? Yes, you can. I think it would have been better to have a little more access down here. But you can definitely use it. Can you thumb flick it out? Yeah, you actually can. Access to the titanium frame lock is very good. We do have a steel lock bar insert, so that's nice. So what do we have here? Is it a safety lock for, can we see what's happening in there? We cannot. But I bet you that locks out the frame lock. Yeah, that's what that does. What's weird is that we don't see this more often. As much as the community has discussed a traditional titanium frame lock or frame lock of any kind, as much as we have discussed over the years, and when I say over the years, I mean literally since, when did Chris Reeve invent it? 1999 or something like that? It was definitely in the 90s. Ever since then, we have discussed this into the ground. The frame lock is heavily reliant on proper lock face geometry. Enough spine force, and, we can get into the weeds of what is an appropriate amount of measurable spine force within the context of normal knife use, right? So if you talk to the potato people of the internet, they'll say beating it like a cave person against a railroad track is normal knife use. Obviously, this is oatmeal brain behavior and there's no place for it, but you can't stop people from thinking that. More reasonable people will say, well, if you get the knife jammed into a tight spot or you're using it, right, like a tool, but you're, still like it's a knife, but you're, in a pinch or whatever, it is reasonable to assume that in circumstances that are sometimes outside of your control, that spine pressure or even spine impact might be a part of your, your knife usage experience. Not a problem if there is appropriate lock face geometry. Like it's the correct geometry and tension to keep that lock bar in place. You would also presumably be squeezing on it, right? Holding it there. In the worst of circumstances, improper lock face geometry and the right amount of spine force or spine impact can cause frame locks and liner locks to disengage. And in the worst of those worst case scenarios, that blade would come back down on your fingers. So I think, a lot of the knife world has simply started, and I say started to, I mean for years, decades, we've just been developing different locking systems that mitigate this. And in some cases, almost completely negate the possibility of it, right? Now, this leaves the opportunity for the guy in the back to go, that's why I carry a fixed blade. Thank you. Yeah, we all are pretty aware of fixed blades. In fact, most of us own multiple, right? If you're watching a video on pocket knives, it's safe to assume that both the creator of the content and pretty much everybody watching is not only aware of fixed blades, but we all own them. I'm not sure where the mentality behind that comment comes from, but anyways, guy's frantically deleting his comment. But that's kind of, what we've come up with. What's weird is that we never really went, like we just kept the frame lock. Like the frame lock is, especially in the premium end of the knife world, a titanium frame lock is wildly common. Now, I know everybody's going to be like, and that's why I'm tired of frame locks, right? Like, I get it. I kind of am too, right? But they're not going anywhere anytime soon. That's for sure. Neither are button locks or crossbar locks. We're just going to have more variety of things, right? We're lucky enough to exist in the 2025 knife world. We have more choice than ever and less of a reason to complain than ever. But that's not going to stop people from complaining more than ever, including myself. So I think we can all just sit here and enjoy the irony of that. But it's odd to me that as long as the frame lock has persisted and, even in the midst of all of these different locking systems, many of them superior, both in terms of operation and reliability, that we have not seen more of these systems. There are plenty of people out there and plenty of people watching this video right now who will say, I love frame locks. It's just the reason I like them. I'm not like expecting it to be the strongest locking system in the whole world or the best or the most innovative. I'm just used to it. And you people who would say that, I also agree with you. I still carry a lot of titanium frame locks because they are familiar to me. My hands move to adjust the lock or in this case, like the opening hole or the flipper or whatever in coordination with the locking system because I am so used to manipulating those over the years. And so many companies have figured out how to get all of the little tiny details of those correct so that they are within that line of familiarity for people who like frame locks, right? It's interesting that we don't see this very often. I've always said if you're going to do this, this cannot be a floppy, jello, loosey-goosey kind of thing because it needs to be distinctly engaged or disengaged. I should be able to have to put a lot of force into it to engage it, but there should be a distinct click of, like this sort of reaffirmation click, like, yes, I'm in place, right? Now, this is not baton mode engaged, as I like to say. What it does is it prevents the frame lock from disengaging under normal circumstances where it might due to unintentional spine force. It's just an extra layer of security. Remette is not implying that it is stronger than your precious fixed blades, right? Those of you who are still wanting to say something about fixed blades being superior. Yep. One solid piece is stronger than two individual pieces held together by screws and a pivot. Yes, thank you. That is correct. But yeah, I kind of think, I don't know, I kind of feel like pretty much every frame lock could benefit from this. I think that these systems on pocket knives, on frame locks, yes, superior locks exist that negate the need for this in the first place, right? But I mean, that's an ever-expanding thing. That's always been the case. It always will be, right? Knives are not necessarily about optimizing every single aspect of utility and safety at all times. But having this here probably would have prevented a few ER trips for a few people. And by a few people, I mean a lot of people. The way that they've done this to keep you from accidentally disengaging it is actually pretty cool. This piece right here, this sort of decorative pivot collar, is raised enough to make this kind of part of this whole ordeal, so that as your finger drags over it, you're less likely to engage with the traction here and disengage it, right? Versus it not being here at all. It's just kind of part of all that. I think that's kind of neat. I think they actually could have made this bigger. This isn't so big and thick, though, that it causes an issue ergonomically. In fact, you're not really even noticing that it's there. I don't think that you would disengage that during any natural use. I think that that will just hold pretty steady. My only question is, over time, engaging and disengaging it I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I always think of this like my power folding mirrors. There's a setting on my truck that every time I turn it on, it kicks them out, and every time I turn it off, it closes them. And the reason I leave that option off is because, well, why am I opening and closing them every single time? What if I don't need to? That's all that's doing is just putting unnecessary wear on the motor or whatever's involved with deploying those things automatically or retracting those things automatically. I leave it off so that the mirrors last longer, right? Obviously, it's under warranty, but outside of warranty, I wouldn't want to have to pay for that. If I could have prevented it by simply not using it. So the idea with this locking system, the reason I'm saying that is, don't engage it unless you need to engage it, because it's possible that what's creating that friction, that detent, that sort of positive reaffirmation that it's locked in place, it'll probably wear itself down over time and become more loosey-goosey, right? So I've already done it, 50 times during this video. To sort of demonstrate. But yeah, I mean, that's cool. This is going to be an item of complete and total disinterest for many people. And for many other people, they'll be like, yeah, that's kind of what I've been waiting for, is a titanium frame lock that has this feature. Remette, I think it would be cool if you started to implement this, like if you plan to continue to make frame locks, which I'm sure that you will. I think it would be a good idea to simply implement this on your frame locks moving forward, as long as you can do it in a way where it doesn't hinder people who don't plan to use it, right? Or it doesn't hinder the user at all. It's only a benefit. I think that this is a system that will actually create more confidence in using your products and will probably prevent injuries in many cases. So that's cool. Expect a full-length review on this, but that's going to be it for today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.